Here's everything you need to know about Storm Floris, due to come along on Monday the 4th of August. Now, if we rewind a few steps here, you can see it comes out of North America as a fairly shallow area of low pressure, but the important thing is its interaction with the jet stream over the weekend. And actually, left my pen behind. Here we go, because this is the interesting bit. The speed of the jet stream really picks up strength. 156 miles an hour there, but there are parts of the jet stream that later in the weekend become even stronger. So there's a core here, 159. And it's the fact that we've got this area of low pressure running into that strong jet stream, 165 miles an hour. That's what helps to deepen it rapidly. And it's when these areas of low pressure get spun up by the jet stream and deepen rapidly as they are crossing the UK, that's when we can often experience the biggest problems from these lows. So here it is, Sunday night. It's just approaching. Its weather fronts are moving in, but it's still deepening. In fact, at this stage, it moves on to the cold side of the jet stream and in a zone that is particularly favourable for forcing air to rise from the surface and deepen that area of low pressure. You can see all the isobars being added to Storm Floris as it pushes into western Scotland middle of Monday. Now, initially, that storm is going to bring some very wet weather. So it's the rain early Monday that will be the most significant aspect. This is 5 a.m. Monday, and what you can see here, the pressure chart on the left with the jet stream and the rain starting to turn up across western Scotland, northwest England, North Wales and Northern Ireland. The winds at this stage, not too concerning. This is early Monday. And as the rain moves in, it turns increasingly heavy through Monday morning. So the wettest weather through Monday morning across Scotland, Northern England, North Wales and Northern Ireland. Not a great deal of rain further south. And then the heaviest and most persistent rain moves through. And this swathe, indicated by the colours across western Scotland, Northern Ireland, this swathe of very strong winds arrives after the more persistent rain. So we're talking about late afternoon into the evening on Monday. That's when the winds really ramp up. It's often in systems like Storm Floris that we see this wraparound occlusion, and it's that hook in the rain coming into the north and northwest of Scotland and swinging into the central belt, for example, that can hold the strongest and most disruptive winds. And actually, the winds continue to strengthen as that hook of rain, heavy rain, perhaps some thunderstorms within it, that pulls away on Monday night, and the strongest of the winds then move from the west of Scotland into northeast Scotland, as you can see there. A bit more detail on the winds in just a moment, but let's cover the rain, and because this shows the total rainfall we're expecting on Monday from Storm Floris, and it shows fairly widely in excess of 25 millimetres, in some spots more than 50, and then when you add on Tuesday's rain as well, then in total there is the risk fairly widely of 30 to 50 millimetres across, say, western parts of Scotland over the hills, but in some of the wetter spots the chance of more than 70, 75 millimetres of rain. So a wet spell of weather, the heaviest of the rain, as I say, going through during the first half of Monday. Then it turns very showery, and it's within that hook of heavy rain that arrives later in the day as the low pulls away where we're going to see the strongest of the winds. And that really starts to pick up from middle of the afternoon on Monday. So this is 2 p.m. It shows the wind gusts, and it's highlighting everywhere the winds are stronger than 50 miles an hour. So this swathe coming into western Scotland and Northern Ireland. And just playing it forward there, you can see by the time the evening starts on Monday, so Monday evening, we've got widely 50 to 60 mile per hour wind gusts across Scotland, parts of Northern Ireland and parts of Northern England. And in places, the risk of 70 mile per hour wind gusts, exposed hills and coasts. So those are the numbers to pay attention to, 50 to 60, and in some places 70 mile per hour wind gusts. But there is a risk as Flores moves away, and we're talking about Monday night, that it will tighten even further as it clears the northeast of Scotland. And in this scenario, there is a risk that winds will touch 80 or perhaps slightly more miles per hour just in that northeast corner of Scotland. So this is late Monday evening going into Monday night. And that's one of the main concerns, whether those winds will reach 80 or 85 miles an hour. There is that smaller risk of that happening in the northeast corner of Scotland as Flores moves away. But more generally, we're talking about 50 to 60 miles an hour, 70 for the most exposed coasts and hills. How unusual is that for August? I know a lot of people would be saying those kinds of winds, typical winter's day for Scotland, but really quite unusual for August. These are the wind gust records for August for various stations across Scotland. And appreciate it might be difficult to read the numbers here, but typically we're looking at 50, 52 there for the far north of the mainland of Scotland into Orkney. There's a 59, these are knots by the way, 59 off the northeast coast of Aberdeenshire I think. So that would be in miles an hour, 65 miles an hour, perhaps a touch more. Western Isles, 51, 56 knots. So again, we're talking about mid-50s to 60 miles an hour. And through the central belt, we're looking at wind gusts of 34 to 49 knots. Northern Ireland, likewise, a mix of 40s in there, the odd 55, 50. So there's not many coming up that are 60 miles an hour. We're talking about 50 to 60 and some exposed spots 70 miles an hour as the most likely winds. So that just shows, really quite exceptional for August, even in a windy part of the country. And this further highlights it. This is a fairly technical graphic from ECMWF, when people are so busy travelling around the country, camping, putting up temporary structure, village fetes, that sort of thing. And so that is why we've issued this warning for Monday, covering much of the northern half of the UK. Even if you're further south, don't think you're out of the woods completely. It's still going to be a very windy period. So if you've got outdoor plans, if you're camping, if you're travelling around, stay tuned to the forecast. Make sure you adapt those plans to stay safe. But yeah, it's the northern half of the UK where the strongest winds are most likely, and they could cause considerable impacts given the time of year, compared with, say, if the same storm, the same wind strengths occurred in January.